Welcome and thank you for joining us today for Network Management Megatrends 2026, Automation, Hybrid and Multi-Cloud Networks, and AI Transformation. My name is Raleigh Gould and I'll be moderating today's event. Our featured speaker is Shamus McGillicuddy, VP of Research covering Network Infrastructure and Operations at EMA. Shamus has nearly 2 decades of experience in the IT industry. His research focuses on all aspects of managing enterprise networks, including network automation, AI ops-driven network operations, multi-cloud networking, and WAN transformation. While Shamus will defer answering your questions until the conclusion of today's event, we encourage you to log your questions anytime using the Q&A functionality. Also, today's event is being recorded and you will receive an email with the on-demand playback as well as additional information about this new research report. So I hope you will check that email out. And now I'd like to go ahead and turn things over to our featured speaker, Shamus McGillicuddy. Shamus?
Thanks, Raleigh, and thank you everyone for joining me today. So, Network Management Megatrends 2026, that's what we're here to discuss. This is a research report that we published a couple weeks ago. It's basically a definitive benchmarking study of enterprise network operations strategy, sponsored by multiple vendors, as is our practice. This is independent analyst research, financially supported by multiple vendors who are interested in understanding what's happening in the market, and also doing some having some content for thought leadership and content marketing support. But these sponsors have no input into the writing of the report. They simply get to co-own the data with me and have their names out there on the PowerPoint next to ours. So thank you to these 4 vendors that sponsored it this round, which is Blue Cat, Broadcom, cPacket, and NetScout, all of which are vendors that you might see in the tool set of a network operations team. So goals and methodology for this research. That's what I'm going to start with, just give you some context. This is now 18 years of network management megatrends for EMA. It's I think I first published this ongoing research myself in 2016. That was the first time I published it. We've been doing it every 2 years since 2008 for the most part. Usually in the spring of an even numbered year, which is where we are right now, just in under the wire. And we examine enterprise network operations strategy, tool sets, and challenges, and we also track megatrends that drive change in NetOps strategy. Those megatrends change from year to year. For instance, I think like 16 years ago, we were asking people, hey, are you interested in application-aware network performance management products, or are you happy just with something that's smart about the network layer? So that's how it gives you a sense of how our definition of megatrends have changed, because these days it's hybrid multi-cloud, it's AI-driven operations, it's worlds beyond where we were in the pre-public cloud era. In terms of methodology for this year, we surveyed 352 IT professionals who are engaged in network operations strategy. This slide gives you an overview of their demographic details. It's people from like the admin and engineer level all the way up to the CIO's office across different groups. Companies ranging from 1,000 total employees to 50,000 and beyond. And about a dozen industries across North America and Europe. So that's an overview of who we surveyed. I also talked to a few people one-on-one, which is something I like to do with all my research. Just talk to a few like network observability architects or network management tool architects about what they're seeing and doing, what's going on in their NOCs and whatnot. And I think I might have quotes from some of them on these slides, but don't hold me to that. I can't remember. So first off, like, how you doing? How's things going? 31% of the people that we surveyed said that they're completely successful with network operations strategy. So that's not great. That's pretty low, actually. I usually expect it to be like high 30s or low 40s. It's a little low this year. These are some stats that we collected this year just to give you a sense of what they're doing, how they do it. Like 67% of their alerts are just noise. Their network monitoring and network observability tools are producing a lot of noise. And by noise, I mean 67% of the alerts coming out of their tools are not actionable. They're not indicative of actual things that might need to be fixed, for instance. It might be symptoms of something else that needs to be fixed, but they're not directly connected to it, for instance. So they've got or thresholds that are poorly defined might be another example. 42% of network incidents are addressed in reactive mode, which is not terrible. Would love to get it up towards, closer to 100% or at least past 50, but I'm sorry, no, below 0%. I mean, 0%. Get them down to 0% and below, like at least below 30%. 30%. I've seen in the past like that number be in the mid 30s. 28% of network problems are caused by manual errors, like bad config changes, things like that. I've seen a lot of anecdotal discussion that it's like 90% or 75%, but I've asked this question I think 3 or 4 times over the last few years, and it's usually hovering between 25 and 30%. So that's what I see. And then 29% of the typical network operations professional's day is devoted to firefighting, putting out fires, reacting to problems, as opposed to proactively fixing things before they occur or working on strategic projects. And tool sprawl persists. The typical IT organization uses 4 to 10 tools to monitor and troubleshoot their networks. When I have a conversation with a network tool architect, I'm like, what are the tools you have? He's like, well, I have some for SNMP monitoring. I got a flow monitoring tool in my data center, or maybe my cloud. I have a real-time packet monitoring tool so I can really track application performance better. I got an active monitoring tool that processes synthetic network traffic for the internet, maybe end user perspective, things like that. Got log analytics. I might have 2 tools that do the same thing, but I have 2 because one of them is better at certain things or something like that. 53% of the people I'm sorry, IT pros believe that 53% of the network problems that they are dealing with on a day-to-day basis could be prevented with better tools. So that gives you some color around why only 31% of the people we surveyed felt like they are completely successful with network operations strategy. And then we asked them, hey, what are the biggest challenges to that success, right? Now, I've gathered some signals that I shared with you in the previous slide, but here's their answer to a specific question about what's causing them pain. And you see what rises to the top is a shortage of skilled personnel. We don't have enough people. We're running 10, 15% below what would be considered fully staffed. We're having trouble finding people to hire that know networking well because they're going other places, blah, blah, blah. But the other big ones are lack of end-to-end visibility across network domains. Especially, I think that issue is especially difficult around like hybrid multi-cloud environments, but also like if you're a highly distributed enterprise, a lot of remote sites, you might have trouble getting deep visibility into those remote sites. We've got number 3 here, data quality and data access issues. Like some of the data I have about my network, whether it's coming from my monitoring tools or a source of truth about how my network should look, not great. Makes it hard for me to manage performance and availability and stuff and capacity. And then tool sprawl, lack of integration between tools. We already talked about that. Tool sprawl is like something that exists in the previous slide, and here it is. They're identifying it as a top 4 issue. So one thing that we saw was reducing tool sprawl is a pretty high priority. 61% of the people we surveyed said it's very important to integrate disparate tools in their network observability tool set. And incidentally, people who prioritize that integration were more likely to experience to report network operations success. So if tool sprawl is a persistent issue in the industry, and it is, like I just said earlier, that I'm doing this research every 10 years, I mean, every 2 years over a decade plus. And that number of tools in use has not really budged very much. It hasn't gone up or down to a great extent. Uh, and so tool sprawl is a reality. Tool integration is an important reaction to that. And it's we see in the research no correlation necessarily between um, number of tools in use and success with NetOps, but we do see a correlation between prioritizing integration of that tool sprawl. What are they integrating? Security insights across tools is a big one. That might be like, hey, can I correlate like a network change with like anomalous traffic? Workflow integration across tools, like, hey, can I pull all the data I need to work on a problem or work on a project in one tool and work on that, even though a lot of data is coming from different tools. Can I bring that all together in some kind of workflow in one tool? Unified reports and dashboards. Can I have time series charts that show me flow from one tool, device metrics from another tool, config changes from a third tool, detected config changes from a third tool, things like that. And data sharing and correlation. Some people talk to me about like building a data lake with all their data coming from all their tools and then sending it to something like Grafana. And then unified alerting and automated ticketing is pretty popular. Almost half of them looking to do that. MCP support for agentic access and integration favored by successful organizations, notably. Even though it's the lowest one on this list, it looks like a best practice emerging. That's allowing AI agents to sort of interact with your tool in a way that's more flexible and better defined than APIs. So that's looking like a promising future approach to solving tool sprawl through AI. AI everywhere. Talk about AI a little more now and later. Tool replacement is widespread. 73% of the people we surveyed said they are likely to replace, at least somewhat likely to replace, a network observability or network monitoring tool within the next 2 years. That number is the same. Well, it was 74% in 2024. But the number of people who said they were very likely to do this versus only somewhat likely had increased, I think from like 35% to 42%, but I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I think that's what it was. So the intensity of that desire to change is increasing underneath that number. We saw correlations between intent to replace tools, like strong intent to replace tools, and a desire to automate more of day two operations, like being able to automate more of troubleshooting workflows, capacity management and optimization workflows, and change management workflows. So that tells me they're looking for tools that have a lot more sophisticated automation. They're collaborating more with DevOps, data center operations, and AI teams, AI center of excellence or AI data science teams. That tells you that they want to make their tools useful to the people who are responsible for application environments, but also AI projects. So that's driving change. And then they are more likely to say they need to unify network management across on-premise networks and cloud networks. They want to solve multi and hybrid cloud complexity. So if they have tools that are not great with that, that's another motivation. On the right-hand side, we explicitly asked them, what would motivate you to replace an incumbent network monitoring or network observability tool with new tools? And number one response was AI-driven insights and automation. This is a phenomenon that's really emerged over the last 2 years where people that I talk to have gone from being kind of like skeptical to the value of AI and network management to accepting that it is an important thing moving forward, and they are judging vendors on their ability to develop an AI strategy around like making their tools more useful, more powerful, more innovative through AI technology. And it is coming through here as being like the number one reason why someone might replace a tool. Better end-to-end visibility. Also, we talked on the left-hand side about the need to unify network management across on-prem and cloud networks. And here you see it on the right, like I need end-to-end visibility across networks, applications, clouds, user experience. If my tools can't do that, I'm going to replace it. On the other hand, they might struggle to find tools that can do it, so they'll just add another tool to fill in gaps, and their tool sprawl will increase. I've seen that happening a lot, actually, because over the last 2 years, when I have conversations with network observability architects, they're like, and I ask them how many, what are your core tools? There has been a fourth or fifth core tool added to that conversation over the last few years, which is I have an active synthetic network monitoring tool. That was not the case 4 years ago, but it is now. Like everyone has something that is active synthetic network monitoring. That's a de facto part of a tool set now. And it is a reaction to the fact they need better end-to-end visibility across their network. And instead of replacing an old tool with a new one that could do it, a lot of them are just adding a fifth or sixth or seventh tool. But, ideally they would, find a tool that can replace incumbent capability with new capability they need. Anyway, I digress. Number 4, response security insights that supports both NetOps and SecOps. We're seeing a lot of collaboration between networking and security teams. So tools that can do that, an added bonus. It's the sort of like a secondary driver of tool change here. You see it reduce tool sprawl by replacing multiple tools with one. That's kind of another, that's like a tertiary driver, as is like lower cost of ownership is not a priority, right? It's a nice to have. They're not replacing tools because they're trying to find something cheaper. They want something better. All right, so I've talked about how AI has gone from to NetOps is embracing AI. 55% say AI features are a requirement when they are evaluating tools. 55% also said they're using AI today. I'd say probably 100% of them are probably using like ChatGPT or Claude or something like that. But 55% of them are using AI tools from their network management vendors. And 29% say they will adopt AI from their tool providers within the next 12 months. That sounds about right to me. Here's a couple quotes from people I talked to about this. You see this network operations manager from a Fortune 500 retailer. What kind of retail does he do? I think it might be clothing or something. I don't know. But anyway, I'm absolutely interested in using AI. We were just starting to dip our toes into it right now. It would be foolish not for us not to investigate it. So that's where like they know they've got to use it. They're just like, and he's like, two of my 5 vendors have something, and I'm like trying to figure out if it's any good. Yeah. And then this network tools lead at a multinational bank, think about it as being a multinational bank based out of North America. We definitely want something agentic that is actively working on problems. So he or she is thinking, I've looked at this stuff and I've seen like everyone's got like this virtual network assistant thing where you can ask it what's going on and it'll give you some ideas and stuff. But they're talking agentic, which means I want something that's like working with me, like telling me, hey, what's up? I see you're working on this thing. You want to hear what I have to say? Like I have some ideas. Or would you like me to just fix this without even telling you about it next time? Because I can do that if you want me to. That's that's their perception of this financial services company right here. Like they're looking that way. They would not have been looking that way 2 or 3 years ago. 2 or 3 years ago, they'd be like, I don't know. I don't trust AI to do anything. I don't want AI touching my network. Things have changed a lot over the last 2, 3 years. Okay, megatrends. Let's start talking about the megatrends. We talked about what's going on in NetOps. Now let's look at some of the mega trends that are impacting them. I'm not covering them all, but I'm covering some of them. Megatrend, let's call this one number one. I can't remember what number it is in the report, but driving more network operations automation, meaning more day two automation. A lot of times when people talk about network automation, they're often talking about like network deployments and like provisioning and configuring networks and fulfilling like change requests and stuff like that, which is mostly like day zero, day one ops. Um, and they're and that's a whole problem people are constantly trying to solve. But with day two operations, it's like getting better at like alerting and event management and triage and escalations and root cause analysis and like proposing remediation and implementing the fix and then verifying and validating the fix. Those are more day two operations. And um, I think more and more people, when they talk about network automation, they're talking about everything, day zero through day two. They may not have one solution that can do all of it, but in this research, I decided to just ask them about day two to see how important it is to them. And here you see 79% of the people we surveyed said it is a high or very high priority, not a moderate priority, but a high or very high priority to automate day two network operations processes, tasks. But it's hard to do. The top barriers to automation, number one, skills gaps. We don't have people who know how to do this. Like we got to write a bunch of scripts that are triggered by alerts and blah blah blah. We got to build playbooks or run books and attach them to the alerts, whatever. 36% said tool gaps, like our tool vendors do not have enough automation in them. And then the number three issue, data quality, data visibility. That's an overall network operations issue. It is also a significant barrier to automation. And I've seen that theme come up a lot over the years. Data quality drives the ability to effectively automate your network. It's why so many people talk about having a network source of truth these days. But we won't get into that because I published a whole report about that 7 months ago that you can go read if you want to visit our website. What are they trying to automate, or what is the thing they want to automate the most? Security response and containment. The security team has told me there is indicator of compromise. I need to block that port. Can I automatically do that through my tool set? Half of them want to automate capacity and performance optimization. So they don't have to like, do a bunch of math in their head and look at charts and try to figure out when something needs to be adjusted, things like that. 44% say they want incident remediation or self-healing. So not just root cause analysis, which is number 4, but actual like proposed fixes to the problems that they have identified. And then config optimization and event correlation or alert noise reduction round out the top of the list of things they want to automate. They perceive AI as a path towards this automation. We asked which of the following approaches best describe how your organization wants to automate day two operations. And you see scripts triggered by alerts or events and runbooks or playbooks, which are predefined automated workflows. That's not what they're looking for. They want AI-driven automation or agentic operations, meaning autonomous or semi-autonomous decision-making or reasoning about problems to automate the process of reasoning about problems, and maybe have a conversation with an operator on what they think is happening so the two of them can make a decision together, the AI bot or the agent and the person. And then also just automation embedded within network management or network observability tools. They need more of that from their vendors, whether AI driven or not. They want like automated workflows, more automated workflows from their management tool vendors. All right, megatrend number 2, hybrid multi-cloud networking. We've been tracking this one as a megatrend for a while. Cloud complexity is everywhere. 69% of the companies that we surveyed for this research have hybrid cloud environments, and 66% are multi-cloud. And only 36% said they were completely effective in managing cloud networks. Not great. It's coming from the perspective of NetOps and network infrastructure and operations, which oftentimes have no say over what happens in the cloud. Like a lot of them are iced out still. Not all of them. Actually, probably more and more of them are getting some influence, or at least being allowed to touch the network. But I still talk to people. I still talk to people who say to me, the closest I get to touching what we do in the cloud is the direct connection from my data center to AWS or Azure or whatever. They want me to manage that. They want me to troubleshoot it, but I don't even know what's traversing it half the time. Like what's happening in the cloud that's causing all this traffic? Who knows? They don't tell me. Um, that tells you cultural barriers are a big reason why this complexity is so painful, but and causing only 36% to feel that they're actually doing a good job with managing cloud networks. But anyway, we asked them, what are your top challenges to managing cloud networks? And the top two were complexity of cloud native networking constructs. Like it's hard to use their their various constructs, whether it's firewalls or load balancers or whatever. I have like 3 cloud providers, and I have to understand how each of them does these things because there's no, they're all proprietary. The network team has a skills gap issue, limited end-to-end visibility to clouds across cloud and on-prem, which is an issue that has risen up in general NetOps strategy, NetOps challenges previously in this presentation, and then inconsistent tooling across cloud providers. So not just the networking constructs, but the tools you use to monitor and troubleshoot and manage networking in the cloud are inconsistent across cloud providers. Like, how do these different cloud providers report on network level telemetry and network performance? And how do you understand how traffic's flowing through the environment and in and out of the environment? It varies from provider to provider. And I talked to a lot of people when I asked them, what do you use to monitor networking, like network health and performance in the cloud? They often say like, well, yeah, I use CloudWatch, and then I use something equivalent in Azure, and I'm trying to collect their flow logs with my tools. Some of my tools are good at it, some aren't. VPC flow logs, that is. And then I would like to get money to like deploy like a packet monitoring tool in my cloud environment, but I'm not getting budget approval for that, and blah, blah, blah. End-to-end connectivity and observability is essential to hybrid multi-cloud networking. It's when we ask this question 2 ways. Hey, we see that you have a hybrid cloud environment where you have both on-prem and cloud. Are you adopting any of the following across those environments? And you see 65% said, yeah, we are doing hybrid cloud connectivity, like a cloud interconnect between them. 56% said, yeah, end-to-end network observability tools. We're trying to do that across cloud and data center. And end-to-end network automation. Those are the ones that they're really focused on. Unified security controls, network security controls across those environments, pretty common. And they're trying to integrate IP address management across cloud and data center as well. So quite a few of them. And I think that was actually a best practice. Like people who told me they're having more success with NetOps were integrating IP address management across cloud and data center. But I think I might have a slide about that later. I'll verify that. And then we said, hey, we observed based on previous answer to question, you're using more than one cloud provider. Are you trying to do any of the following across those multi-cloud environments? And again, end-to-end multi-cloud network connectivity fabric of some kind. Maybe they're using some kind of backbone to connect them, or they're actually deploying some kind of overlay capability. And then network observability across tools, again, high priority. Most of them are doing that both in the hybrid sense and in the multi-cloud sense. And then unified network security controls, that's a bit of a higher priority in the multi-cloud aspect of things versus the hybrid cloud, but not by a big margin. And then again, end-to-end automation and integrated IP address management are popular secondary priorities as well. So you see these efforts to solve the hybrid multi-cloud complexity, but it's not easy. Like um, I know that like on the DDI vendor side, not all the vendors have fully integrated IP address management capability. Like they can read and they can discover, read and read and report on IP address space in the cloud, but some of them still can't like actively manage your IP address space, like control how IP addresses are assigned in the cloud. Yeah, it's changing. Like I think most of those vendors are getting there. And then on like the observability piece, like I still talk to network observability vendors that haven't got feature parity or across the big three cloud providers yet. Like they might be good at collecting and analyzing data from AWS, but and maybe they're getting there with Azure, but they're still kind of far behind on things with Google Cloud Platform. Um, and they haven't even thought about some of the secondary ones yet, let alone like if you plan on using NeoCloud for AI projects, you could be out of luck there. All right, the next megatrend, preparing. How am I doing on time? I'm doing great. Preparing network observability for AI transformation. So here's a new one for the Megatrends report. We've talked about using AI to manage your network, but what about like building and managing networks that support your AI ambitions? Like, are you deploying training and inference workloads somewhere in the cloud, the data center, at the edge? And if you are, like, how well prepared is your network operations team to like manage that? There are lots of conversations going about like, oh, I got to upgrade my switches. I got to, adopt Rocky 2 or Ultra Ethernet or whatever, where I need to update my WAN infrastructure for improving like latency and then latency and things like that. But what about managing all of that? Like I built this network to support my AI ambitions. Can I manage the performance of it and the health of it and capacity? So that's what my goal was here with this mega trend. So first we asked, when does the organization expect to deploy AI training workloads or AI inference workloads in its environment, including data centers, public cloud, and or edge infrastructure? Almost 48% said it's deployed today. Most of the rest were expecting to do so within the next year or two. So then I said, hey, do you feel like your network monitoring or network observability tools are ready to support that world where you have these AI workloads somewhere on your network and you need to actively manage the network to support their needs, their networking requirements, low latency, non-blocking, low congestion, whatever. Only 35% say they were completely prepared. Their tools were completely ready to do that. All right, so what kinds of performance concerns are you worried about that drive you to think about whether your tools are ready? The big one was impact of security controls on performance. Worried that my network security infrastructure is going to actually impede this. Like, do I need in that? That's not an issue that a network performance management solution or network observability solution can solve, but it can reveal it quite well. Trouble with isolating performance issues across networks, applications, and GPUs. There's this recognition that these huge GPU clusters are going to add a lot of complexity to infrastructure, and they're anticipating that they need to be ready to isolate whether the performance issues are actually the network or maybe it's these huge clusters of GPUs or whatever. Network impact on inference latency and tail latency, and then network-induced GPU idle time and underutilization. These are things that I think a lot of network observability tools are nowhere near ready to help you with. So, tool enhancements, I asked what they think they would help them feel better about their tools to be ready for this AI tsunami or whatever you want to call it. Bubble, some people might call it. Well, AI-powered troubleshooting and remediation sure would help. because I feel like my people are going to be overwhelmed by this new pressure from the enterprise. Like, we've got to make our AI investments work. The network needs to work. You need to be able to manage it proactively. And these people in the NOC and in the network engineering, like tier one, tier two, tier three people, they're like, we're already we're already barely hanging on. Uh, our senior level engineers are going to retire in 2 years. Like, we're not ready. But AI powered troubleshooting remediation sure would help and you know put a lot more capability in the hands of our less experienced people. 49% said proactive alerting for AI related performance risks. So being able to having tools that can sort of like track under where you can either tell it or it can understand and infer what the performance requirements are of specifically for your AI applications, and then alert you proactively on risks to that performance. Um, and then almost the same number of people said AI application and workload awareness for real-time packet analysis. Like, I have these packet monitoring tools that are really good at layer 7 analytics and inferring what's happening and inferring things from like encrypted traffic, maybe things like that. They need to up level to understand as many AI applications as possible. And then 40% said real-time streaming network telemetry. I can't rely on polling that's going every 5 minutes. I need real-time telemetry from certain parts of my network where I can't afford to miss incidents that are invisible between 5 minute polling intervals. So those are the mega trends. We've talked about like what's happening in the NOC and what their challenges are and what they're trying to do to fix them. And we've talked about the mega trend, some of the mega trends like AI transformation, hybrid multi-cloud complexity, etc. So key takeaways. NetOps teams continue to struggle. Network skills gaps exist around automation and around network operations in general. And that's going to make it hard for them to support AI transformation and hybrid multi-cloud complexity. Tool sprawl is rampant. It's probably not going to go away anytime soon. So you should focus on integration. Incidentally, AI might be an enabler of that to some extent, but that's a topic for another time. Cloud complexity is rising. Trying to integrate tooling, especially network observability, across those environments can help you to some extent. And AI networking, AI networks, like networks for AI, is going to require some retooling. I recommend you talk to your vendors about whether they're thinking about this. Most of them aren't, probably because they're not hearing from you. uh, I I think that you should ask them like, hey, I think like in the next 2 years we're going to have a lot of inference workloads at the edge of my network. I'm thinking about like, how can you help me manage that? Final slide. Successful network operations teams are doing the following right now. These are things that the most successful people in our research were doing differently than the people that were not doing great. So I wanted to highlight them here. They're focusing on network observability and data accuracy, network observability data accuracy. They don't tolerate glitches, tool collection limits, things like that. They really get they are happy with the state of data quality across their tool sets. That's a foundation of NetOps success. They're prioritizing automation, particularly using AI and automations embedded in commercial network management tools. They're not relying on scripts triggered by alerts. They're not relying on like putting together run books and things like that. They are moving beyond that. They are embracing AI-driven or agentic network management solutions. Like, they are using them today. And they are addressing tool sprawl by integrating network management solutions, which I mentioned earlier, especially via workflow integrations and the MCP support for agentic access to tools. So like if you have MCP support across multiple tools in your tool set, then like if one of those tools has strong agentic capabilities, it might be able to reach out and interact with your other tools to sort of solve your tool sprawl to some extent, for instance. And then they're emphasizing unification of network and security management across hybrid and multi-cloud networks. They're saying, hey, I need good network observability across those environments. I need good network automation across those environments. I need good um, uh, uh, yeah, that's what I was getting at. And then they're also, yeah, here's the best practice around IPAM, establishing end-to-end network observability and IPAM across hybrid networks specifically was a high priority for successful ones. And then unifying network security controls across multi-cloud. That's a big one. All right, so that is the sum total of my presentation. The report itself has a lot more to say about different things, different and additional megatrends and stuff. You can access it via this link. You can also go to some of the sponsors' websites. Some of them have distribution rights to it. But now I'm going to turn it over to Raleigh for Q&A.
Thanks, Shamus. Let's dive into the questions. The first one is, when it comes to NetOps utilizing AI in a broader capacity, was there concern about where the AI data was coming from or where the AI analysis is being analyzed? For example, preference for LLM versus domain-specific model.
Didn't ask that question in this research. So let's see here. Previous research has found that there is if their data is going to the cloud for AI training or inference, it has to be anonymized. Like most people are open to that, but it has to be anonymized. I think that's table stakes. I think most vendors know that now. Probably knew that from the beginning. There are some who are still saying, no, I want on-prem deployments of whatever AI model you have built. Aerospace and defense are very firmly in that area. Maybe some parts of the financial services industry, maybe some aspects of government, defense. Part of that question seemed to be about technology stack rather than data. But like, I think there's recognition that LLMs have general knowledge, but they're not going to necessarily understand your network unless there is like a stack of some sort of knowledge base, sort of foundational that is like that can interact that an agentic framework can interact with both the data about your network and a general knowledge base about networking and an LLM. And I'm starting to see some vendors move in that direction, if that answers your question. But in terms of preference from the people in this survey, I'm going to go that deep into like how they want their data used and what architecture or AI architecture they want from their vendors. I will say that like most enterprise IT organizations lack confidence in their ability to evaluate these kinds of solutions. So their requirements are immature. They have fears and uncertainty and doubt around things like, I can't let you take my data into the cloud, but they don't have sophisticated opinions on how they want you to do things. That's my answer.
Thanks, Shamus. How does MCP support for agentic access help with tool sprawl?
I think I alluded to this earlier, but network tools have started offering MCP support to provide like a standard way for AI agents to interact with them. So let's say you have multiple siloed tools. If you adopt an agentic solution, whether that solution is from one of those tools or from a net new solution provider, it can interact with all those tools that have MCP support, and those vendors will have guardrails in place for how an agent will be able to interact with that tool, like whether it's like pulling information or pushing things to it. Um, the MCP servers, the MPC access points become like an abstraction layer across your tool sprawl. Um, it might you might be able to bet to you might be able to have like an agentic solution that just can solve a lot of that tool sprawl by just having being good at like correlating lots of information from your siloed tools and and um, and reasoning about it and presenting you with like an overview of what's happening across your tools, and then you can click into individual tools to verify what it's saying, maybe if you have your doubts about it. Or you might build your own set of network operations agents that can interact with your tools if you're experimenting with things that way. I've talked to tool leads who have started experimenting with building their own internal agents that can interact with their data. One guy was telling me he's trying to build some kind of agent that can read um, uh, maintenance window emails from his ISPs. Like, oh, I'm constantly getting emails from ISPs that certain sites are going to have a maintenance window, and like I want an agent that can read those emails and put together a plan for how to put together like a maintenance window for that site, so I don't have to plan it all. Um, but that's not necessarily an example of MCP access, but it's an example of NetOps leaders like playing with agents and trying to figure out ways to solve problems. So if all of their tools and have MCP access, that gives them more options for how they can build agents and play and like use them to solve problems. That's next question.
Thanks for those insights, Shamus. Let's take one more question. I read your blog on network engineering labor shortages that was based on this research. Most of the data cited in that blog is missing from this presentation. Why is that?
Because this report's like 60 or 70 pages long, and it's based on a 20-minute survey with like 60 questions. There's a lot of data in the report, didn't make it into the presentation. That blog speaks for itself. I invite you to go to EMA's website and read the blog. It's more information that wasn't covered here. Or you can download the full report and get a lot more insight into the state of NetOps, including the issue around labor shortages in network engineering, network operations teams. You'll also learn how IT organizations are evolving their approach to organizing network operations. Like, hey, do you have a NOC still, or have you done something else? And how's that impact operations based on how you organize those people? And how do you actually evaluate whether your network operations strategy is successful? Like, what's your approach to measuring success? So you'll see things like that in the report as well. It goes deeper into everything else presented here too, for the most part. I didn't go, I like every topic covered here is kind of tip of the iceberg to some extent. So yeah, I'm sorry I wasn't able to cover it here, but I only get so much time. But yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Shamus. And I wanted to thank our audience for taking time out of your schedule to join us today. As I mentioned, you will be receiving a follow-up email from EMA that will include the on-demand playback as well as a link to the research report. As a reminder, I encourage you to check out the sponsor sites. They will also have the report for free and you can learn more about their solutions. So please check those sites out. Thanks again for joining us and enjoy the rest of your day.